So let's move on. Okay. Again, I don't rehearse these. So we left off Centinela, yes. And Ryan finally got cleared to go to the 1 yard. So once he was cleared to go to the 1 yard, it was like just a whole like different vibe. Like he was straight chilling. He called it like Camp Snoopy. They had like a fence around, but you're like outside. You can go like in and out as often as you wanted. It felt like a boys' camp, he would say, you know. It was just way more like laid back, way more chill. They weren't trying to kill each other. So he felt safe. He had some of his friends out there already. And he was able to call me every day. He was able to get commissary more often. And he told me if he really wanted to, he could just walk off the jail, but he wasn't going to because, you know, most likely he'd get caught or like, what the fuck was he going to do? And he just wanted to finish his time because, again, we were seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. He had like 3 months left and he was coming home. So it's best to not fuck that up and just do your time and get home safely. So, you know, they had like fences around, but there wasn't like barbed wire. Like it was so like laid back. And he told me people would walk off. It was, you know, right next to the border between Mexico and California. So it was still kind of close to Santa Barbara. And we were trying to set up another visit because, again, I only got to visit him one time at Victorville during this whole, you know, term. Because he was moved around and transferred so many times because it went from federal to state to federal. Like, it was just a mess. So there was a chance for me to visit him again. But Frank and Diane didn't want to drive me down there. They just were over it. And they're like, we're just going to wait until he's home. Which I kind of wanted to do too. I'm like, dude, just wait. I'll see you soon. But, you know how Ryan is. Like, you have to come see me. So I was trying to plan that out with Kenny. But Kenny was kind of iffy about driving close to Mexico. She just got a brand new car. You know, she wasn't sure if she really wanted to go down there. Her mom's very overprotective, so she kind of had to check with her mom. So I was kind of telling Ryan, I have to wait and see. Like, I can't drive down there, so I'm depending on other people. It's not up to me, but I'll let you know. But again, we were able to talk more often, and we were making plans for the future. And, you know, told him about the apartments I checked out in the South Bay. But again, his plan was to not do nothing for the first month, just to be at his parents' house and bond with Nico and I. And that was that, you know. So I had to relay this to Frank and Diane, and I'm sure he told them too. But, you know, I know Frank wasn't really too thrilled, but he was okay with it. Like, he was going to allow it. And he's like, okay, you can live with us. You, Nico, and Karina can live with us for the first month, and then we got to get you a place. So that was the deal. And, you know, during that time, not much happened. Like, Ryan was in a good place. He was very happy. He started to work out every day. He told me he was getting really hot tan dude. Like, he felt really good, and he was getting excited about coming home to us, you know. And it just got closer and closer, and I was just, you know, raising Nico at this point by myself. And we were happy that, you know, Ryan would be home for Nico's first birthday. So we started planning that together over the phone, which was really nice to have his input and know that he was going to be able to be there with us celebrating Nico's first birthday. So it was kind of an exciting time, you know. So we had to figure out also who was going to pick up Ryan once he got out. And I would think, you know, well, of course, me and Kenny or his parents. And Ryan was like, no, I don't want my parents to pick me up. I want you and Kenny to come get me. So once they leave Centinela, they leave on a bus. And with whatever other inmates are getting released, they leave on a bus and they make a couple stops, like in San Diego, like the bigger cities. And Los Angeles would be the stop that he was going to get off on. I think that's where it ended. I'm not sure. And then it went maybe somewhere really far. I don't remember. But I know he had to get off in Los Angeles. So we would pick him up in LA. That was the plan. From Santa Barbara to LA, it's like an hour and a half, 2 hours. So, you know, Kenny was okay with doing that. The visit, though, that wasn't going to happen. And I kind of just had to let Ryan down easy. Like, it's not going to happen. But, I mean, I think it was like a week before he got out at that point, because the process of even setting up the visit took forever. So, you know, I kind of had to let him know. And he was upset, but I'm like, look, I'm going to see you a week after that. Like, it's okay. Don't trip, you know. But we're going to pick you up. You know, we can come pick you up. That's not a problem. So we agreed we would go get him. And that was the plan for March 25th of 2019. You know, and pretty much between January to that time, it was uneventful. Nothing really happened. We were still in the process of working to get him divorced, but at that point we just said we just have to wait till Ryan's back. His parents were doing all right, and Nico was doing great, you know. Nico had started to walk at 11 months. He actually started talking and saying more words at 11 months, and everything was going really good. Again, I did have this pit in my stomach, though, as it got closer to him coming home. I just felt like everything was going to change, and it just made me nervous, and it scared me. Like, it's going to change. It's not going to be like it has been. It's not going to be just Nico and I, and I'm a little nervous because Ryan can be, you know, unpredictable to say the least. Again, we were in a really good place, though, and I had very high hopes for the future. So, you know, I just had to kind of push those fears aside and not live in that, and just embrace what was to come and be positive about it. So I started getting ready for our move and packing Nico's and I's thing. And again, both our parents lived in Santa Barbara, so it wasn't like a big move, and I could come and go from my parents as I pleased to get more stuff, Nico stuff, etc., etc. So, you know, finally it was like the day before he got out, and we were on the phone, and he was really excited. And you know, during this time he kept in touch with certain people. Certain people did, you know, make an effort to write him, talk to him on the phone. Paul was one of those people. But Nick was also someone else who grew pretty close to Ryan during that time. You know, Nick would write him, and, you know, Ryan would share some of his letters over the phone to me that Nick had wrote him, and they would talk on the phone once in a while, and, you know, it seemed like they were developing a really cool friendship. You know, Nick was very supportive of Ryan while he was incarcerated, and, you know, those are things Ryan didn't forget and always remembered once he was out. So, you know, it's the day before he's about to get released, and he's pretty much telling me, you know, I'm like planning to go and get him, and I'm excited about it, and I'm like, yay, I can't wait to come and get you. Like, what's the plan? So what time should we be there? The bus is going to drop you off then. Okay, we'll be early. Like, Kenny and I are ready to go. And, you know, Ryan then springs it on me. Change of plans. I'm like, oh my God, this fucker's not going to get out. Like, what did he do? Always thinking the worst, because you never know with Ryan, right? So I'm like, oh my God, what? So I like have a mini panic attack. Like, tell me what the fuck is going on. And he's just like, no, it's not like that. I'm like, great, you're not coming home. And he's like, no, it's not that. He's like, but you don't have to come pick me up. Trying to spin it like it's all like, look, you don't have to come and get me. Like, I'm doing you a favor. You don't have to come and get me. I'm like, what? Why don't we have to come and get you? It's like, you're going to actually meet me in Sherman Oaks at the Cheesecake Factory. I'm like, well, how the fuck are you going to get there? Does the bus bring you there? You know, I was thinking, okay, maybe we don't have to go. So you had to go into like downtown LA. And from downtown to LA to Sherman Oaks, it could be like a good hour and a half with traffic, depending on the time. LA's huge, you know, and from downtown to the valley, it could fucking lag. So I was like, okay, that's a little relief, but I just want to see the moment I can, you know? And I was a little like, kind of hurt, like my feelings were hurt, like, well, what's going on? And he's like, well, actually Nick's gonna come get me. I'm like, wait, oh, I see, your cool movie star friend can come and get you, so you'd rather have him come get you than your fucking chick who's been waiting and supporting you this whole time with your kid. So I let him have it. I was like, what the fuck? And he's like, no, it's not like that. It's not like that, you know? And we kind of got in a little argument about it. But I'll be honest, my feelings were hurt because I was like, damn, Ryan, you're pretty fucking thirsty just to have Nick come pick you up. You're willing to, like, hurt my feelings and blow us off. And I told him that. And he's like, I'm sorry, I don't want to hurt your feelings. And he did then offer, like, okay, I'll tell Nick not to come get me. And he knows me, though. I'm going to be like, no, it's fine. Go ahead. Have your movie star friend come get you. So, you know, I just got over it, I guess. But I'll admit, I was a little hurt by that. Future, I just remembered there's something he did also that him and I had planned to do. But he did it with Nick behind my back. And we'll get into that later on. That'll be in the West Covina series. But at least this time he was kind of upfront about it. So, anyway, so, you know, I let Kenny know, who was such an amazing and supportive friend during this time, by the way. And she was just game for whatever. She was just happy to be there, to reunite us together and be a part of it, you know. And so we just said, okay, so what we're going to do then is we can leave a little later, and we're going to go to Sherman Oaks and have dinner at the Cheesecake Factory. So that's what we decided to do. You know, and talked to Ryan probably, I don't know, a couple other times that day, and that was that. And I asked him, well, I don't know what to expect tomorrow. Am I not going to hear from you? Like, you're not going to have a phone? Is there a pay phone? He's like, I will find a way to talk to you, but just be there. I believe I had to be there around like 4-ish, 5 o'clock, between 4 and 5, I want to say. So Kenny and I plan to leave Santa Barbara, I think around like 3. And or 2:30, something like that. But I think we had to be there between 4 and 5. His bus was going to pick him up, I want to say like 8 to 10 a.m. or something. Those things are never on time. But and then you have to like get out or like check out or whatever it is, discharge. I don't know the terminology. My apologies. But it's a process when you're leaving. So that, you know, I didn't know, like, was I going to hear from him? But he said, I will make sure you hear from me. Just be there. Like, okay, you have my word. I've been dependable, reliable this whole time you've been incarcerated. I will be there. We will be there. And that was that. We said goodnight. I love you. And, you know, and it kicked in. I'm going to see him tomorrow. It was really exciting, you know. So, of course, you know, the day comes, and it's not like he could call me that morning. But I basically just did my normal morning routine of, you know, getting ready, feeding Nico, everything I needed to do. And then Kenny came and got me, and we were driving down to LA. And at this point, I like for sure thought I would have heard from Ryan. It was like after 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and I still hadn't heard from Ryan. And I checked in with Nick that morning, and he did respond. We were texting, and he was like, yes, I am going to get him. Don't worry. I'm bringing him to you. Woohoo. Like, you know, you guys are going to be together, back together. Like, happy day. I was like, cool. You're going to get him. It's all good. So I was getting a little worried though. You know, we're driving, you know, let me back up a little bit. And I remember, like, you know, Kenny comes and gets me, and I'm loading stuff into the car, and my dad's home, and I cried as I like hugged my dad goodbye, knowing I'm going to see him like the next day, but something felt like something was just going to change. And I felt sad that routine we had going on was coming to an end, but I knew this is my family. I have to go be with my family, and we have to start our life together. I have to, you know, go be with my man, and I can't be living at home at my parents', you know. So it's like I had to do this. But we hugged, cried a little bit, both of us, and that was that. So we're driving down to LA, and Kenny and I are excited and getting more pumped as we go. But, you know, Kenny's like, well, have you talked to Ryan? I'm like, no, actually, I have not talked to Ryan. I'm kind of tripping because I thought by now I would have heard from him. And, you know, Kenny then goes, well, what if he, like, fled? I'm like, what? So she kind of put this idea in my head, like, well, what if he, like, went to Mexico or something? I don't know why. But instead of getting on the bus, just fled. I was like, oh my God. I'm like, you're right. What if, like, the responsibility of being a dad got to him and he just, like, ran off to Mexico or something, or with a group of inmates? I don't know. So I then started thinking the worst, like, oh my God, he's probably going to Mexico, he's on a bender, or, you know, he's doing what, God knows what. I was just like, my God, like, what the fuck? I still hadn't heard from him. And, you know, so we're getting closer to LA, and I know we had to stop somewhere to get gas, like in close to Malibu. And, you know, I'm thinking, okay, I need to check in with Nick. Maybe Nick, he's called Nick or something. But I had to remember also, like, Ryan didn't have a phone, but he told me, don't worry, I will find a way to call you. So I knew he usually kept his word back then. So I was like, I didn't know what to think, I guess. But I was thinking every possibility from the worst to it's just out of his control right now. And I'm thinking maybe, like, they're not letting him out. He's in some holding cell. He can't talk to me. My mind was racing and going crazy. So I decided to reach out to Nick. Also because, you know, the last time we had communication was that morning. And maybe he had heard something. I'm like, hey, Nick, I'm just checking in with you. Are you at the train station? Ryan should be getting there any minute. Radio silence for a while. And I see, you know, when you text someone and you both have iPhones, you can see if they get your message or not. It'll say delivered or not. It wasn't saying delivered either. So I'm like, oh my God, what is going on? Now I can't get a hold of Nick. I'm like, what the fuck is happening right now? So then I started tripping, like, what is, like, I don't know where Nick is. He's MIA. Ryan's MIA. We're the only ones, like, on our way to Sherman Oaks, like, doing what we said we were gonna do. And I'm tripping. Like, now I don't know if Nick's there gonna get him. Where is Ryan? Where is Nick? You know, and I'm just emotional at that point, and I don't know what to do. I mean, we continue on to Sherman Oaks, and finally, I get a response from Nick, and Nick is with Ryan. So I'm like, oh my God, let me talk to him. You know, Nick is kind of like, yeah, I got him. He's with me. Here he is, you know? And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, why haven't you called me? I've been worried sick. I thought you ran off to Mexico. He's just like laughing, like, no, you silly boo butts, or whatever he would call me. I love you and Nico, and I cannot wait to see you. He's like, baby, you have no idea what I just went through. It's always some fucking story with Ryan, right? And he's just like, I'll tell you when I see you, but you have no idea what I went through. He's like, and no one would let me use their phone. You know, we made a couple stops, and there were civilians who had phones, and anytime I asked to use their phone, they were like, hell no. And he's like, I thought I could convince someone, but no one would let me use their phone. So I was like, okay. I was relieved, I guess. But anyway, he was like, we're on our way. There's tons of traffic right now, so we're probably going to be an hour late. And I'm like, damn, we're almost there. So we basically just had to wait for them to get there. So, you know, we park at the Sherman Oaks Galleria, wherever the hell it is. And we're just kind of waiting for them. And, you know, I'm like, the time's going by and it's just getting later and later. And, you know, you have like a newborn. At this point, Nico, let's see. Oh, Nico was just about to turn 1. He was 11 months, but still. It's like, well, you know, can't really be out at the Galleria with Nico. We have to, like, figure out what's going on. So, you know, I'm able to text or talk to him through Nick. And he's like, baby, we're on our way. I'm sorry, there's traffic. I guess what held him up, he was trying to get me flowers or something. But he didn't have money, and Nick didn't really have money. He thought Nick would have money, but he didn't. So when he went to finally find flowers, like, they didn't have the money to get the flowers. So Ryan was just kind of pissed because he really wanted to do that. I'm like, I don't give a fuck about the flowers. Get your ass here. I just want to see you. Like, stop making me wait, you know? And he's like, okay, I'm coming. So we're waiting outside of the restaurant, and I'll never forget, you know, how it felt the first time I saw him walking up. And this was the first time I was going to see him outside of jail. I mean, the last time I'd seen Ryan in person was at Victorville. And I mean, at that point, it'd been like 9 months or so, you know, almost a year that I've seen him in person. And we've been through so much, you know, at this point with him being incarcerated. And I'll never forget, you know, seeing him walk up, and I'm holding Nico, and we're standing in front of this fountain, and Kenny's like, there he is. And I'm like, I know, I see him. And, you know, Ryan comes like running up to us, and, you know, we embrace and we kiss, and it's just a very happy, joyous reunion. And he's with Nick, and then he's like holding Nico and kissing him, and it was just a very joyous reunion, you know? And it felt really good, and I had like butterflies in my stomach. I felt like I was seeing my high school crush or something, you know? It felt really good. So then, you know, we're catching up and embracing, and that's the first time I met Nick. I forgot about that. That's the first time. Like, I talked to Nick on the phone a couple of times while Ryan was incarcerated. And he was always a very sweet, cool guy, and very supportive of Ryan, and a good friend to him. And he was always very nice to me too. So I liked Nick. But that was the first time I was meeting him in person, you know? So I, of course, am like shaking his hand, and I don't notice anything weird at all. This is the first time I'm meeting him in person, so I don't know like Nick's characteristics or if something's off, you know? So, you know, we all meet and greet, etc., and we go inside and sit down to dinner. And we're at the Cheesecake Factory, and, you know, we sit down, and before we even order, like, Nick has to excuse himself. He's like, I gotta go to the bathroom. And it's like, okay, yeah, go, you know, you don't have to tell us. And we're catching up. I'm sitting next to Ryan. We're taking pictures and kissing, and it's just really happy. And he's playing with Nico, and it's all good times all around, you know, and catching up with Kenny, and we're laughing and just having a great time, you know, and picking out what we're going to eat. And, you know, Ryan was so excited because this was the first time, like, he was going to actually eat, like, a nice dinner. It'd been a while. And I paid for the dinner, me and Kenny, which is fine. I'm not, like, putting that in anyone's face, but I'm just saying that I was always very supportive of him. And this will be a point in a later story. I had no problem with it, you know? I'm not like that. So, anyway, he picked out, like, this big steak dinner with potatoes, and I'm like, get whatever the hell you want. Get some cheesecake, you know? Like, eat anything you want. And he was so happy just to be with us. And, you know, we're ready to order. And it'd been like 20 minutes. And Nick is still gone. Like, where is Nick? You know, like, where is he? It's been 20 minutes. Maybe he's on the phone. And Ryan's like, he's not on the phone. I'm like, well, what do you mean? And Kenny's like, yeah, something seems off. And I'm like, what? I don't notice anything's off. Maybe I'm just that naive, or I just, again, this was the first time I met him, so I don't know, like, what kind of person he is. This is just could be how he is, you know? And Ryan's like, he's not on the phone. I'm like, well, what's going on? And we will get into that in our next story. So at this point, Ryan is out of jail. He's free. And we're reunited as a family. And we're out to dinner with his friend, who I guess is a movie star. And he has the cred. But something's off. And then Ryan's going to also fill me in what happened on the bus ride out of jail and on the way to Los Angeles. Some shit went down too with some other inmates. But that will be for our next story. So yeah, we're out of the jail series. The next series will be basically that little honeymoon phase we had before we moved to West Covina. But all right, guys, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I have to get back to the kids, and this has been great. So I love you guys for your continued support. Couldn't do this without you guys. It really means a lot to me. And I'm trying to think of more fun, cool things to do, but I think until these projects are released, I can't really do too much for now. But I'm gonna find ways to include you guys more. If you have any feedback, I always love to hear that. Message me on here, message me on social media for friends or whatever, or you know, drop it in the comments. Maybe I'll do another Q&A soon, but I'm trying to think of something new. And again, I said I'm saving the interviews when I interview people towards the end of pretty much when we're done with all of this, because that'll make for a better interview, a juicier interview, because I'm not gonna hold back on questions, if you know me. But I have to wait because I don't wanna give the storyline away. There's so much to come, guys, trust me. But again, always open to feedback. If you have any ideas, please let me know. I greatly appreciate it, and I appreciate you guys so much. I am so grateful and thankful for you guys. I wouldn't do this without your love and support, period. So thank you, love you, and of course, palabra.